Oh, that's my phone. It's the audio.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Last week, we ended with the question, where are you? And this is a very, very philosophical, not literal, but very philosophical question. Where are you? And this is one concept that we have to thoroughly buy into if you're going to be effective using these skills. You have to thoroughly buy into it. Give me a moment. Let me. Okay. We are inside our earthly vessel. That's where we are. We're inside our earthly vessel. Let me. Are the pictures blocking out portion of the screen?
No.
Okay, they are on my side. Kim, how do I move the pictures so they're not blocking?
Do you have the little minus symbol right next to your image? Let me see if I can look at your screen.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Go ahead, girl. I'm glad you in the family. All right. There is a difference between what happens and your interpretation about what happens. Now, I want to take just a few seconds for you to internalize that. There is a difference between what actually happens and your interpretation about what actually happens. It is natural and normal for people to observe events and then make judgments, evaluations, and interpretation of those events. However, many people don't realize that there is a difference. The danger of this is that we will stay stuck in our interpretation and fail to see other, more effective possibilities. Also, we cannot change events that have happened, but we are free to choose our interpretation. Is that hitting home with you?
Yeah.
Guys, look, we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. You have 5 people see the same accident on the street corner. When the police comes, the police will get 5 different interpretations because everyone sees things as they are. Each of those 5 people saw that accident, but they saw it differently. How can that be? How is it possible for everybody to be looking at the same exact thing? The same exact thing. They see the same exact thing. They hear the same exact thing. They smell the same exact thing. They touch the same exact thing. How is it possible that 5 people can experience the same exact things and come up with 5 different interpretations? The reason is that we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And this is a hard thing for people to understand. Because see, we get stuck in our own interpretation. Because we know it, it's right. We saw it, it's right. We heard it, it's right. But it's only right to us. It's not right to the person that's next to you. Because the person next to you is not in your earthly vessel. That person next to you, they have their own earthly vessel that they have to make sense of the world. That is so very, very key for you to grasp and understand that concept. Now, one thing that we do, when we describe people, when there's a conflict or anything, when we describe people in such a way that it is very easy for them to deny. They will deny it. If they don't agree with it, they will deny it every single time. They will deny it even if they really believe that it's true.
Well, what part? Say that again.
When you describe a person, that person might agree with you, but they're not going to tell you they agree with you. They're going to deny it. They're going to deny it. And there's no way that you can get them to agree with you if they don't want to agree with you, because the way you describe that person, you describe that person in such a fashion that they do not want to admit it. And this is called a deniable description. So we have to make sure that we don't give deniable descriptions. We're going to make sense of this in a few minutes.
Okay.
Deniable descriptions. Behavior. See, when you describe a person, you have to describe their behavior. Now, what is a behavior? The way you know a behavior, you say to yourself, what did the person say? What did the person say? If I said today is the Sabbath, and you said to me, Larry, you said today is the Sabbath, I can't deny that, because that's what I said. Today is the Sabbath. And you say, well, Larry, you said today is the Sabbath. I can't deny that. So when you describe a person, you describe what did the person say, or what did the person do? Can you see me?
Yes.
How many fingers am I holding up?
2.
I don't know. I don't see all of it.
Okay.
You can have some on the other hand.
See, you're reaching into your earthly vessel, and you're coming up with, well, wait a minute, is this a trick question? Or, he could have another hand up. See, that's what your earthly vessel told you. But what you can actually see is 2 fingers. So you say, I see 2 fingers. You held up 2 fingers. So when you describe a person's behavior, you describe what did the person say, or what did the person do. When we look at other people from our earthly vessel, we see them through a window. We see them through a window. And this window will have a line drawn somewhere in the window. Now, in that window, you have a green area above, And those are behaviors. So the B represents behaviors. You have a green area with behaviors above it, and you have a line, and then below it, you have a red window with behaviors below it. So you have behaviors above the line, and you have behaviors below the line. Behaviors above the line, those are behaviors that you like those behaviors. You like that. Below the line, those are behaviors that you don't like. You don't like those behaviors, and it's important that you are aware of the behaviors that you're okay with and the behaviors that you are not okay with. What you want to do, you want to get as few behaviors as you possibly can below the line. Now, a behavior that is acceptable to me, it looks like Gresha is in deep thought. And I kind of like that. I like that behavior. Now she's smiling. I kind of like that behavior because it makes me feel that she's listening, she's with me, she's making an attempt to understand. See, that's a behavior that I like. That would be in the green area. Now, if she was doing like this, that would be a behavior that is below my line because her fingers will be in her ears and it will make me feel that she was not listening or not seeing. Behaviors above the line, behaviors below the line. If she had her head back and she was snoring, that's a behavior that will be below the line. And what I want to do when I'm communicating, I want to get as few, I want this line here to be as low as possible with as few behaviors in it as possible. Now you have behaviors that's above the line. But that line is close to the top. You want the green area to be as big as possible when you are communicating. But you see this line is close to the top. You also have this area in the middle. And before we talk specifically about the area in the middle, let's go back to the one line where you had the green area and the red area. One of the major challenges, for example, with parents raising their children, one of the problems when it comes to discipline is trying to convince the child that mom and dad are on the same page. We're thinking alike. We're together on this. In some way, somehow, a child who has not had this training, they know that's not right. They know it. Let me give you an example. When my youngest son, Ryan, was living with Carolyn and me, Ryan would come into our bedroom, lay on the bed, and watch TV. Now, I'm just going to tell you, man, that didn't bother me. But it bothered Carolyn. It bothered Carolyn. Carolyn says that our bedroom is off limits. Our kids should not be in the bedroom. Not without our permission. That bedroom is sacred. You don't go into the bedroom. Now, intellectually, I understood that. I understood it. It's just something that it just didn't bother me. It didn't bother me. So I said, okay. And I went to Ryan and said, Ryan, Carolyn and I do not want you in the bedroom without our permission. You don't come into the bedroom unless, if we're in the bedroom, you knock. If we're not in the bedroom, you just don't come in. Not without our permission. Do you understand? Ryan said, yes, I understand. Okay. About a week later, I came home. Ryan's in the bedroom, laying in the bed, watching TV. I came home, didn't say a word. I did what I needed to do. And then Carolyn came home and saw Ryan. She said, what's going on? And then I said, oh, that's right. Ryan's not supposed to be in the bedroom. Ryan, Now look, understand, it really didn't bother me. I didn't even think about it. I forgot about this discussion we had a week before. And when I came home and Ryan was in the bed watching TV, I just didn't think about it. It didn't bother me. And then when Carolyn came home, she was upset because we all agreed that he's not supposed to be in there. She didn't forget about it. So when I say to Ryan, look, Carolyn and I, we're on the same page. We're on the same page here. We're thinking just alike. You shouldn't be in the bedroom. Some way, somehow, inside Ryan's earthly vessel, he knows that's not true because he's seen me not say anything. So, what I had to say to him, I had to go deep down into my earthly vessel and figure out what is really going on with me. And so I said, I got it. Here it is. So I went to Ryan. And I said, Ryan, you probably know that it doesn't bother me when you're in the bedroom. You probably figure that out. But Ryan, it bothers Carolyn, and Carolyn is my wife. It bothers my wife. And I'm supporting my wife. I don't want you in the bedroom when we're not here. And when we are here, you knock before you come in. Because Carolyn is my wife. I'm supporting my wife. Now see, Ryan could buy that. He did not buy the fact that Carolyn and I are one and we both don't want you in the bedroom. He didn't buy that. But when I told him that she's my wife and I am supporting my wife, he was able to buy that because some way, somehow he knew deep down in my earthly vessel, it wasn't a big deal. Now, when you look at the window on the screen, you are going to have some behaviors that's neutral. You see the kind of beige color right in the middle? See, Ryan being in the bedroom was in this beige color area. Can you all see this mouse when I'm moving it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. See, Ryan's behavior to me was in this area right here. It wasn't up here. It wasn't that I loved it when he was there, when he was in our bedroom and we weren't there. It wasn't up here, and it wasn't down here. I hated for him to be in the bedroom when we're not there. His behavior was here. It was okay with me. It just didn't bother me. It didn't bother me. Right now, Vic has his right hand His head is resting on his right hand. That is a behavior that he cannot deny. He cannot deny he's resting his head on with his right hand. That is a behavior. And that behavior is right here in the middle. I don't care if Vic is resting his head on his right hand. He can rest it on his left hand. See, that is a behavior that it's okay with me. It's not that I love it or anything, but it's a behavior that he is exhibiting that is neutral. It's a neutral behavior. See? There are behaviors that is just going to be neutral. And when you are working with people, you want to get as many behaviors as you possibly can in the green area and the neutral area. As many as you possibly can. As few behaviors as you can in the red area. That makes sense?
Yes.
Back to the situation with parents dealing with their children. When you have that one line in the middle, understand that that line is not permanent. That line can move up. That line can move down. Let me give me a second here. Okay. There we go. See this line here? This line can be up or this line can be down. That line is not stagnant. It moves, it shifts. And, one time I was in class, this one when I was in the classroom, kids were talking and everything. And I walked in and I said, man, I said, what's wrong? I said, I have a terrible, terrible headache. That class was perfect that day.
They were perfect.
They were perfect because they knew I had a terrible headache. And they did not want my headache to get worse. This line here is not going to be stagnant. It's going to move. You cannot say this is the way it is and this is the way it's always going to be. Let me give you an example. Say you have a 10-year-old child and you say to say he's a son, he's a boy. You say to your son, by the time I get home from work, I want you to have the living room clean and I want you to have your bedroom clean. Do you understand, son? And he says, yes, mommy, or yes, daddy. Okay. You come home from work. You open the front door. And that living room is a mess. It's a mess. Then you hear him in the bedroom, sound like he's jumping up and down on the bed. You go in the bedroom and sure enough, for no reason, he's just jumping up and down in the bed, having a good old time. And you say to him, boy, didn't I tell you that I wanted your bedroom clean and the living room clean by the time I got home? Didn't I tell you that? You are in trouble now. And just before you get ready to hand him the wrath of judgment, you get a knock on your door. Knock, 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 knock. You run to the door, and there is Ed McMahon. I don't know if you guys remember Ed McMahon, the one started the publisher's sweepstake, and they come to your house with a big old check and a lot of balloons, and then they say you have just won $1 million. If that had happened to you, you would probably run back to the bedroom and jump on the bed with your son. It's the same behavior. It's the same behavior. He's jumping on the bed. But after you got that $1 million check, who gives a, It's the same behavior. So one day, that behavior can be unacceptable. In just a few minutes, it is acceptable, or at least it's neutral, because you got that $1 million check. You can go to work and you can have a horrible, horrible toothache. Everything is probably going to be below your line. You just can't stand to hear a person click his pen or tap his nail on the desk. Anything is just going to drive you crazy because your tooth is hurting so badly. Now, the day before, you did not mind him tapping his nails on his desk or clicking his pen because you did not have a toothache. But now that you have a toothache, every sound just drives you up a wall. And so just about everything is going to be below the line. So this line right here in the middle, it's going to move up, it's going to move down, up and down. It doesn't stay in the same place. Y'all understand that?
Yes.
Okay. When we deal with people, when there is a conflict, we always talk to them using you messages. And I guarantee you, using you messages is damaging to your relationship when you're trying to communicate. You messages. Who do you think you are? You are not going to talk to me that way. Or you are always late. Why don't you get your act together? You are going to hurt someone doing that. It's you this, it's you that. You. You are so inconsiderate. You are so lazy. What's wrong with you? You shouldn't do it that way. You should be more like this, or you should be more like that. When you use you messages, it's going to damage your relationship. You messages. Instead of doing you messages, you want to give I messages. See, when there is a challenge, a problem, You don't want to make the problem about the person who's giving you the problem. When you are communicating a problem, you do not want to focus on the person that is causing the problem. You want to focus on yourself. So, instead of giving you messages, you want to give I messages. See, you want the issue to be about yourself, not about the other person. You want to talk about what's going on with you, not what the other person did that's causing problems for you. So you need to become skilled at using I messages. And when you use I messages, you talk about the person's behavior. Now, who remembers what a behavior is? A behavior is what a person does or what a person says. Yeah. What a person does, what a person says. I remember when my oldest son Darian was living with me. One morning, man, I went to his bedroom and I said, Darian, get up out of the bed, man. It's the crack of noon, man. Get up. Get up. And sometimes he gets up without saying anything. Sometimes he wouldn't. He didn't like me coming in there, getting him up in the morning. But it's Saturday. And my response will be, and when you give, if I were to say, man, you are so lazy. You're lazy. See, lazy is a what? It's a deniable description. Now, even if Darian, and by the way, let me just say this is one incident when Darian was living with me, but it's important that you understand that I'm going to give a lot of examples about our growing up together, me raising him. Most was good. I say 90 percentile were good experiences, just a few negative experiences. But Darian was a very, very productive kid growing up. But I am going to share some of the challenges that we've had, and we've done this before. So I hope I don't embarrass him.
No, you won't embarrass me. You probably come to do the same stuff.
But if Darian agreed that he was lazy, he would never tell me. He would never admit it. Is he going to deny it? What you mean? I'm not lazy. What you talking about? I remember this one time, Darian, I think he got up around maybe noon, went to use the bathroom, went downstairs, made a bowl of cereal, ate a bowl of cereal, came back upstairs, got in the bed, and it was still in bed at 2. Now, if I said, Darian, the day's gone, man. You are so lazy. He would deny it, wouldn't he? I'm not lazy. But if I said, Darian, you got up at 12, went and used the bathroom, went downstairs, got a bowl of cereal, ate that, came back, got in the bed, and now it's 2 o'clock. Can he deny that?
No.
No. because I described his behavior. See, you have to get used to describing behaviors. I remember one time he was sleeping late, and see, what I did not know was that Darian was on the phone, wee hours in the morning, maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, because he had some problems with his girlfriend. So when I thought he was sleeping, he was talking on the phone trying to get things right with his girlfriend, couldn't get it right, and he was just having a hard time because of that. So that's why he was sleeping. Did I know that? Of course not. I am not inside his earthly vessel. I didn't know he was up to the middle of the night trying to patch things up with his girlfriend. I didn't know that. I thought he was just sleeping late because he was lazy. Because, see, I'm not inside his earthly vessel. See, things go on inside our earthly vessel that nobody knows about because we are in our earthly vessel all by ourselves. We were born alone. We live our entire life alone. And then we die alone because no one is inside our earthly vessel but us. It's just us inside that earthly vessel. So some way we have to be able to communicate what's going on. Hey, Carol, come here for a minute. Come here for a minute. We have to figure out how we can communicate with one another. Well, never mind. Hold on a second, guys. I got it. That's good. Okay. And the way we communicate, sometimes we have feelings, and they're strong feelings, and they're inside our earthly vessel. And we try to figure out a way how to share what's going on inside our earthly vessel with someone else. So what we do, we go inside our earthly vessel, we try to find some words, and we share those words with another person inside their earthly vessel. That person will receive our words, put those words into their vessel, and then repeat them back to us to see if they're on target, to see if they're right or not. Because there's no way for us to know. For example, you're a high school boy. You go to your girlfriend's locker first thing in the morning, and you say to her, "Hey, baby, how are you?" She looks down and she says, "Fine." You're going, "Wait a minute, what's going on?" She says, "I just don't feel like talking right now." And then she walks off. You're going to say to yourself, "Oh my God, did I do something? What happened?" But what you did not know was that her dog got hit by a car on the way to school, and she saw it. Her mom and dad took the dog to the vet, took her to school. Don't know if the dog's going to live or not. But what she is dealing with inside her earthly vessel was witnessing her dog get hit by a car and not knowing when she gets out of school if that dog's going to be alive or not. Now, how's the boyfriend supposed to know that? He can't know that. He's not in her earthly vessel. All of this was going on inside of his girlfriend's earthly vessel, and he had no clue. Now, even though she says, "I'm doing fine," he knew that wasn't true. So we have to really, really accept the fact that people see things differently, they feel things differently because we all are inside our earthly vessels alone. Now, when you want to communicate a behavior with someone that is negative for you. You have to be able to describe the behavior. You describe the behavior. And what is the behavior? Something that the person said or something that the person did. Now, the boy can go to the girlfriend and say, why are you acting all funky? If he says, you acting all funky, what's the first? Is the girl going to admit that she's been funky, or is she going to deny it?
Deny it.
She's going to deny it. I'm not being funky. See, but what she is not able to articulate, because she hasn't had this training, is that she's having some feelings deep down inside her earthly vessel. And she knows that you are not in there, and she knows that you don't know what's going on inside her vessel. So she's not being funky. But if the boy says, honey, what's wrong? I asked you how you were doing, and I heard you say fine, but I saw you look down at the floor, and your voice was soft. It seemed like something else is going on. See, she cannot deny that because he described her behavior. So when you give an I message, you have to be skilled at describing the person's behavior. Don't describe deniable anything that they can deny. Anything that, deniable descriptions is going to lead into an argument every time. Expect it. When you give a deniable description, just expect an argument. The person's going to say, or no, I didn't. So get used to describing behaviors. Then you have to describe, how do you feel about those behaviors? And then you need to give the tangible effects. What are the tangible effects? How did that behavior affect you tangibly? Let's look at the mother and the 10-year-old boy. He says, have the living room clean and the bedroom clean by the time I get home. So the behavior is, when I got home and I noticed the living room was still a mess and the bedroom still a mess, I was so irritated. As a matter of fact, I was really embarrassed because I was bringing my boss home to have coffee. The tangible effect was that she was bringing people over to the house. And she walked in and the house was a mess. There was a tangible effect. Another tangible effect could be, I was really disappointed. It makes me feel like you don't care about my feelings, and I'm concerned about my ability to raise you and discipline you. It's as if that you did not respect my authority as your mother or as your father. And I don't like those feelings. I felt disrespected. See, when you say I felt disrespected, can you hear the difference between I felt disrespected and you don't respect me?
Yeah.
I feel disrespected. Now, the child cannot argue with that because the child knows that you are talking about yourself. But if you say to the child, you don't respect me, or You are so disrespectful. That's a deniable description. You are so disrespectful. I'm not disrespectful. Remember the other day when I did this and that? So, deniable descriptions, I mean, it's a very, very tight rope. And you have to be careful when you're dealing with people and you're describing behaviors. Any questions or comments?
No, I just was just assessing some examples that I could maybe redo.
You want to share one?
I was thinking about like last night. Gabby told Gabby and Crystal were on the line playing a game with their friends, and I came in the room and Christian said, "Why didn't you get the axe?" See, so somehow he said you messing the game up, something like that. And I said, Christian, allow Gabby to play the game and let her figure it out herself. And then I came back and Gabby told Christian that he's always doing this, putting her down and doing these type of things like that. And I told Christian it's time for him to get off the game. He said, but I didn't do anything. I said, well, I keep observing the way that you are treating Gabby on the game. I said, why didn't you get that? He said, because I got killed. I said, well, why did you get killed? Why didn't you stay alive so you could get the axe, so Gabby would have to get the axe? And I can't remember what it was, but I know he, after I told him, he said that this is unfair and something else. And I can't remember if I used the "you" message or not, but I was pretty sure I did. I was trying to rethink how did I express that to him,
Mm-hmm.
and how could I have done it to where he didn't feel attacked. Right. So
So you noticed that he felt attacked with what you did.
That's a good thing to go over.
okay.
Okay, what was that you just said?
Well, it says that's a great thing. Once we're through the class, we can kind of role play it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Next week, we're going to talk about active listening. This is so crucial. And there could have been some active listening done on your part, Darian, to have helped the situation, because we don't always know what's going on with a person.
Right.
So next week, we're going to start off with some active listening, and we're going to do some role playing. Now, let me just caution you. We are going to go through these, excuse me, we're going to go through these skills in just a few weeks. But this is technically a 36 clock hour class. We're not going to spend 36 weeks doing this. We're just going to spend a few weeks. But I am going to need you to do some process on your own. Be thinking about how you communicate with people. Be thinking about if you give you messages or if you give I messages. Be thinking about your line that is going up or going down, and be thinking about behaviors. Are you describing behaviors, or are you describing a deniable descriptions? Be thinking about your actions as you communicate throughout the week. And then on next Saturday, when we come back, we can process some of those and then go into one of the most important skills and that is active listening. And Father God,